I'm Ryan Clausen, Senior Claims Adjuster from Nebraska. Today we're going to talk about soybeans. We're going to do some staging on both reproductive and vegetative. We're going to do some node loss on reproductive, vegetative. We got some stand loss counts, and then we're also going to do some defoliation on our R-stage beans. Okay, we're going to start off staging these plants here. That's going to tell us what process we need to use and what we need to follow when we're looking at the damage in the field. We'll reference the chart here. That's going to tell us our stage. So we're going to start on this plant right here. We're going to start with the first fully developed leaf, which is going to be this one. It's open, no parts of the trifoliate are touching. We're going to count 4 nodes down. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. On this node we've got some pods that are starting to develop. We're going to take that over to the chart. An R3 plant has a pod that's just visible at one of the 4 uppermost nodes. That would be right here. So for this plant, our date of adjustment is going to be R3. Our storm was 14 days ago. If we pull up to the next page, we'll see the time from R3 to R2 is 7 days, and from R2 to R1 is 3 days. So our 14-day window of our storm is going to put us prior to defoliation on this plant. So out in the field, we're only going to be looking at stand loss and then nodes that are cut off on this plant. To find our nodes that were cut off, we're going to have to find the ultimate number of nodes at the storm date. These 2 branches here that have no damage are going to be new growth, so we're going to ignore those. We'll start down here at the bottom of the plant. We're going to find our cotyledons. We're going to find our first true leaves, and that's where we'll start counting nodes. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we have 9 nodes that were available or out at the storm date. So any plants that have less than 9 nodes will go in our cutoff node chart. We have a couple plants here that had some bruising. Some of these bruises, while they look deep, once you scratch them off, if the bruise did not go through the stem and into the pith, it's considered a minor bruise. So on these 2 plants where we've scratched off the bruise, that's a minor bruise, and that would not need to be deferred. Whereas on these 2 plants, we've got a bruise that's went into the pith, and in this case, the plant's already started to break over. Any severe bruises that go into the pith anywhere on the plant will need to be deferred. Those plants will come back later and take a look at prior to harvest to see if any of them fall over and become unharvestable. So we've got our stage at adjustment, which was R3. We've got our stage at damage, which would be in the V stage. So what we're going to look at in the field, we're going to have stand reduction, we're going to have cutoff and broken nodes, no defoliation or anything after that. Had this staged in the R stage, we'd have the same stand reduction, cut off and broken nodes, and we would have defoliation to take into account. But means we're prior to R1 stage, we'd simply be looking at the V stage. So we've got our stage, we've got our ultimate number of nodes, we're ready to go out in the field and start counting. Okay, so we measured off our 10 feet. We're going to count the plants. We've also got a row width. We've got 30-inch rows. We've got that marked down. We're going to go down our 10 feet. We're going to count our live plants. And then we're going to count any of our dead plants. We've got our clicker to count our deads. And we're just going to start off Anything that's still green and alive is going to be an original, and we'll count our deads when we get to the end. So down here at the end of the 10 feet, we've got our original plants of 71. We had 7 dead. That gives us 64 remaining. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to count the nodes that are missing on some of these plants that you can see that are topped. To make this easier, we went ahead and pulled our 20 consecutive plants and put them on this white background to count our nodes. If you remember, we had 9 nodes at the date of loss, so we're just going to go down each plant. We're going to start on the true leaves, and we're going to count up to count our missing nodes. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're not missing any on that plant. On this next plant, we got our cotyledons. Our next node is going to be our true leaves. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're missing 3. On this plant, we've got our cotyledons. So our next node is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're missing 3 again. On this plant, we've got our cotyledons. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, we're missing 3. On this plant, we'll find our cotyledons. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we're not missing any on that plant. Okay, here at the end of our 20 plants, we've got all done. We've got 38 missing nodes total. We had 9 nodes to start with on our 20 plants. That would give us 180 total nodes. So those are the 2 numbers that we'll keep for our node loss when we enter that into the computer. So when we're staging this plant, we're going to look down here on the stem. We're going to find the first bump. That was going to be our cotyledons. The next bump, you should see an opposite leaf. That was going to be our first true leaves. So that's going to be where we start counting on all these plants. So we'll find the cotyledon, we'll cover that with our fingers, and then we'll start with the true leaf and count up. So we've got another R stage plant here. Again, we're going to start at the top. We're going to find our first fully developed leaf. We're going to count 4 nodes down. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got some pods with some seeds that are starting to develop. We're going to go back to our chart. We're going to find a pod that's got some seeds in it. That's going to put us at R5, which is a seed that's developing that is 1/8 of an inch. So we've got R5 today. Our storm was 14 days ago. We're going to count back. That's going to put us between R3 and R4. So this will be a R3.5 plant at damage. Back to our little cheat sheet. We're going to have an R3.5 plant. So we're going to have stand reduction, we're going to have cutoff nodes, and we're going to have defoliation. On this plant, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find our first fully open trifoliate. We're going to start there. We're going to count down 4 nodes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we've got some pods that have some seeds in it. We'll go back to the chart. Again, that is going to be the R5. This storm on this field was 9 days ago. That'll put us from R5 back to R4. So on this plant, we're going to skip over cutoff nodes and we're going to jump to a 1-for-1. So for each plant that is missing some nodes, it's going to go into the count as a factor plant. So on this one, we're going to have defoliation. We're going to have plant damage, 1-for-1s, 2-for-1s, etc. And we're also going to have pod and seed damage we're going to have to count. Okay, we're out here in the plot. We've got our R3.5 soybeans. We've got our row width measured at 30 inches. We've got our 10 foot of row measured out. We've got 68 live plants. We have 0 dead plants in this example, so there's no stand loss. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our 20 consecutive plants, and we're going to count nodes, and we're also going to count defoliation on those. We've got our 20 consecutive plants here. We're going to count nodes first, and then we'll come back through and we'll count our missing leaves for defoliation. So we're going to start with a plant that's not cut off to determine our ultimate number of leaves. We'll start at the bottom. We're going to find our cotyledon. We'll put our fingers on that. We'll start with the true leaves. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We've got up to 16 nodes that have damage. So we know anything less than 16 is going to be a cutoff. So we'll take the next plant. We'll find our cotyledons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we've got 3 missing nodes on that plant. We'll find our cotyledons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and we broke off right there, so we'll just peel that off. We're missing 2 on that plant. We got our cotyledons. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we're missing 5 on that one. We have our cotyledons. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Everything from there is broke off. So we're missing 4 more on that plant. Okay, we got the plants we're going to defoliate here. There's 3 different ways that can be entered. You can enter it as a gross percentage defoliation. You can enter it as total nodes, or excuse me, total trifoliates and missing trifoliates, or you can enter it as total leaves and missing leaves. For this example, we're going to enter it as missing leaves. So we're going to start up at the top of the plant. All this new growth is come out since the storm, so we're going to ignore that. We're going to count our trifoliates down. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Anything past that, they've just dropped their leaves off naturally. There's no scar, there's no cutoff, so we're going to ignore those. So we've got 12 trifoliates. That gives us 36 leaves. So we're going to start back up here. We're not missing any. We're missing 1. We're missing 3. We're missing 3. We're missing 3. We're missing 3. We're missing 2. We're missing 0, 0, 0, and 3. Same thing on this plant. We're going to find the new growth. We're going to ignore that. We're missing 0, 0, 3. We're missing 1. We're missing 3. We're missing 0. We're missing 3. On this one, it's all gone, so we're missing 3. We're missing 1. We're missing 2. We're missing 0. And we're missing 0. We're going to start at the top here. This is all new growth. We're missing 0. We're missing 3. We're missing 1. We're missing 3. We're missing 3. We're missing 3. We're missing 1. We're missing 0. we're missing 0, we're missing 3, and we're missing 1. In this plant, we're missing 1, we're missing 0, we're missing 1, we're missing 0, we're missing 3, we're missing 0. This is all insect damage. We don't have any trapdoors. We don't have any big chunks of leaf missing. So on that one we're missing 0 from hail. Same with on this one, we're missing 0. We're missing 1. We're missing 0. We're 0. And 0. Okay, so we've got our defoliation done and we've got our nodes done. We had 16 nodes on each plant and on our 20 plants. That would give us 320 total nodes. We're missing 50. On our defoliation, we had 36 leaves on each plant. We had 300 total missing. Divide that by 20, it gives us an average of 15 leaves per plant. So when we enter this in the computer, we'll enter our 50 nodes missing. We'll enter 36 as our original leaves, and we'll enter 15 as our removed leaves.